Let's start by pointing out the obvious. The top I'm wearing today is gorgeous, but those of you who've been around before know that I crocheted this exact same top back in 2020, and it didn't look nearly this good. Hey everyone, welcome back to She Tried It. Today I'm excited to share with you a journey of remaking one of my crochet projects. This time around I did things a bit differently, and I'm here to share 10 changes I made. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks so much better than this. So let's dive right in. First up, I was not a crochet tester this time. The first time I made this top, I was testing the pattern for a designer, Holly Woodward Designs, which meant that I had to follow the pattern exactly as written and provide feedback on any issues and give an account of how much yarn I used. This time I had complete freedom. I didn't have to stick with any deadlines or any specific guidelines, which is kind of strange because I actually completed it a lot quicker, probably due to the fact that I had a lot less pressure. And it allowed me to experiment and make adjustments to better suit my style and preferences. It was liberating to crochet at my own pace without the pressure of testing. This flexibility gave me the opportunity to really enjoy the process and make a top that's truly my own. Secondly, I did not gauge swatch, and I just hope for the best. I know, skipping the gauge swatch is quite a risk, but I wanted to see if I could trust my instincts and my experience. This approach saved me some time, but it was a bit of a gamble, and I definitely don't suggest that for everyone. Luckily, it worked out pretty well, and if you're confident in your skills and familiar with the yarn, sometimes taking a little risk can pay off. However, I would not recommend this for beginners or intricate patterns where fit is crucial. For me, it added a bit more of excitement to the project, and I ended up with a top that I truly love. Next, I was intentional with the color I chose. The first time I went with the color that I like, green. If you watched the video on that make, you already know the mistake I made by picking up two different colored greens. My mild color blindness definitely got the best of me that day. Now, green is a great color, don't get me wrong, but I don't normally wear green items. Instead, I'm more of a neutral girl. Had I really thought about how I wanted to style this top, I would have definitely chosen something in the neutral family. This time, I took time to really think about what color would make me feel great wearing this top. I chose this creamy beige color called Magnolia, and it made all the difference in the world. The color not only reflects my personality, but also makes the top more versatile with my existing wardrobe. Matter of fact, let's cut to a montage of how versatile this top really is. It's amazing how a color choice can transform a project from something you like to something you love. Another thing I did is I used yarn that I love even though it was a substitute. The pattern called for an Aran weight yarn, but I decided to go with a DK weight that I've been wanting to use for a while now. It wasn't a perfect substitute in terms of fiber content and weight, but I adjusted my technique to make it work. I was graciously gifted this LB Collection cotton bamboo yarn from Lion brand. As I mentioned, the color was ideal, but the fiber content of 50% cotton and 48% rayon from bamboo made this yarn ideal for summer. Actually, let me clarify, it's ideal for a Texas summer because that's no regular heat. The result was a top that felt luxurious and special. The best way I can describe this yarn is that it's a bit like True Boot and slightly more matte finish and a bit more structure. And because it's an LB Collection yarn, it can only be purchased on the Lion brand website, which of course I'll link in the description box below. Sometimes using a yarn that you're passionate about can reignite a love for a project that makes the process way more enjoyable. The fifth thing I did was I made the pattern fit for me. Instead of following the pattern to the letter, because I wasn't a tester, remember, I made adjustments to ensure that the top fit my body perfectly. This included tweaking the measurements and altering certain sections to better suit my shape. The result was a custom fit garment that flatters my figure and feels comfortable to wear. Taking the time to make these adjustments can turn a good project into a great one, and it's one of the best parts of crocheting your own clothes. For example, this vest was originally quite long, but of course, I cropped it. I adjusted the decreases on the shoulder, and lastly, I realized I don't really wear open vests, so I decided to seam up the front and wear it like a sleeveless tank top. Best decision ever. Another thing I did is I had a mindset shift. The first time I made this top, I was focused on finishing it quickly and making sure it was perfect. This time, I approached the project with a bit more relaxed attitude. I embraced the process, enjoyed each stitch, and didn't stress about minor imperfections. When I made a mistake, I just frogged it and started over. This mindset shift made the experience more enjoyable and fulfilling. Crocheting is supposed to be fun, and sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that. Number 7 on my list is I considered where I wanted to make this project. Instead of crocheting in my usual spot, which is right here on the couch, I decided to take my project with me to different places, like cafes, to work, and even on a short road trip. This change of scenery made the process more exciting, enjoyable, and memorable. It's amazing how a new environment can inspire creativity and make the project feel really, really fresh. If you find yourself stuck or bored with a project, try changing your location. Next, I took my time time weaving in the ends. The first time around, I was in a hurry to finish the top, but this time I allowed myself to go slow and savor the process. I'm not calling anyone out because I don't remember who said it, but I remember when I first made this top, I got the genius tip to skip weaving in your ends and just tie a knot and cut the yarn. Do not do that. It resulted in a make that did not stand the test of time. And like I always say, weaving in your ends is not that bad. You just need to make time for it. I paid more attention to the details, which resulted in a higher quality finish. Taking your time can be the difference between a rushed project and the one you're truly proud of. It also makes the crafting process much more meditative and relaxing. Another thing I did is I adjusted the pattern as I went. Even though I didn't swatch initially, I kept an eye on my gauge as I went along. If I noticed my stitches were too tight or too loose, I made adjustments accordingly. This proactive approach ensured that the final garment had the right fit and drape. It's a good reminder that you can always make changes as you go. You're not locked into your first few stitches. While I ultimately made the modifications that I mentioned before, I ran through a few other options also. One being turning this vest into a sleeveless dress, and I still think that would have been a fantastic option. It's just not one that I went with this time around. And finally, the last thing I did differently is I'm wearing it. Unlike the first time where the top ended up in my closet and never saw the light of day, this version will definitely become a staple in my wardrobe. I'm proud of how it turned out and I love wearing it. There's something incredibly satisfying about wearing something you made with your own hands. It's a reminder of your creativity and skills, and it feels great to show off your work. Every crafter knows that feeling of wearing something you made and getting a compliment and proudly saying, "Thanks so much, I made it." Absolutely nothing can beat that. So there you have it, 10 things I'm so glad I did differently while remaking this crochet top. I hope my experience inspires you to try new things with your own projects. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future updates. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever remade a project and what you did differently. See you in my next video. Bye!